Well, you just don't get any cooler than Clint Eastwood. He's been able to survive in Hollywood despite his conservative views. Breitbart.com recently deemed Clint Eastwood a political punk, along with our next guest, Gavin McInnes. He joins me from New York City. Gavin, great to see you again. First of all, I think we should define the word punk for our viewers, because there's probably about 5 different ways to look at that word. Do you know what Breitbart.com meant when they put you and Clint Eastwood in the same category?
Well, I hope they didn't mean a sexually submissive person in prison. I believe they mean the 70s rock and roll movement that was popularized in London and New York with the Sex Pistols and the Ramones. And I believe the tenets of that subculture were disdain for authority and a fearless embrace of who you are.
How is that conservative? Because I think there would be a lot of leftists or liberals or at least 60s hippies who say, I don't like authority, man, and I totally love who I am. So what's the difference between a conservative punk like you and Clint Eastwood and just some Woodstock hippie who says, you know, I don't like the police? What's the difference between you and a lefty when it comes to being a punk?
Because the paradigm has shifted, and now the mainstream is authoritarian. I mean, look at Occupy Wall Street. What were they screaming for? More government regulation, more rules. Even these anti-cop rallies, they're running around with communist flags. So today, rebelling against the police is to push for an authoritarian dictatorship.
Yeah, that's what's so weird. If you've got a communist flag, you believe in a police state, not our civilian-run police departments. Well, let me talk about Hollywood, because this movie that Clint Eastwood rolled out a few months ago, American Sniper, is an enormous box office success. The left is flabbergasted that anyone could possibly cheer for an American sniper. Michael Moore, you know, actually compared him to a Nazi sniper. Why does Hollywood, I mean, this is so rare that Hollywood actually does a patriotic pro-war movie. It's an enormous financial success. Surely the sheer financial greed and the want to make money, the competition factor in Hollywood would drive that town to make more patriotic films, more pro-American films, more pro-Christian films. I mean, Mel Gibson's movie, The Passion of the Christ, was a huge box office success, almost $1 billion. Surely they would, the money behind doing something patriotic or Christian or conservative would out-argue just their leftist credentials of coming up with more anti-war crap, wouldn't it?
It would, but they're idiots. And idiots are easily preyed upon by Marxists. That's their bread and butter. And they keep making these dumb films like Matt Damon's anti-fracking film, and they make anti-war films, and they flop. And then they do Iron Man about a guy who sells weapons to terrorists, and it does incredibly well because it's badass.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, you're saying they're dumb. I'm sure there are politically naive people, but isn't money by nature smart? And if Clint Eastwood, I mean, he's in the twilight of his career now, but if someone would start a studio saying, we're going to make stuff that the heartland of America loves, is patriotic and proud and conservative, wouldn't that attract smart money, and wouldn't the dumb money get wasted away? I mean, you know the saying, a fool and his money are soon parted. Hollywood probably made 10 awful anti-war films, and they kept making more and more and more. Surely the smart money would move to someone like a Clint Eastwood. Why hasn't it?
It has. I think if you look, take the top 10 popular movies right now, and I don't think you'll find a liberal bias in them. I think that's a myth. I think that the free market is controlling Hollywood, much to the actor's chagrin. Like, look at Jim Carrey. He's in Kick-Ass 2 shooting guns everywhere, and then he's out protesting against guns, and someone says, weren't you in a gun movie? And he's left going, I don't support that movie. Yeah, I'm sorry I made it.
Well, that's a good point, is a lot of the stars get rich off the conservative masculine shoot 'em up, and then, you know, in Hollywood to regain their street cred, they say, oh, I'm really for gun control, don't mind my armed personal security. But let me ask you about TV, which I regard as almost a complete liberal wasteland. Let me give you the worst example, that show called Girls with Lena Dunham. It is politically vile, culturally vile. It's not even smart or funny or well written, but it's also a ratings stinker. It had its worst ratings ever, but it is so celebrated. Where is the conservative? I thought Married with Children had some politically incorrect, conservative, reactionary humor in it. Where is the conservative laughs today? King of the Hill, maybe a little bit. South Park, a little bit. But I think I've just listed everyone I could think of. Where's the conservative on TV?
Well, the strange thing about entertainment in America is it's only for the aristocrats. Girls probably gets 200,000 viewers. Lizard Lick Towing, about guys who repossess cars, that gets 5 million people. But True TV can't monetize it because old rednecks and old white guys like you and I don't buy stuff. Yeah. So the media panders to this tiny elite group that no one pays any attention to. Yeah. I mean, that show Transparent about the trans Jeffrey Tambor, nobody watches that, and it consumes awards shows and newspaper articles and media posts.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was thinking Duck Dynasty. I mean, those guys, you real, and they have their eccentricities. I watched a couple of that. I mean, I find that entertaining stuff, even though I'm culturally far away from that. Oh my God, there was a concerted campaign to drive those guys off the air. I just wonder, are people finding their entertainment elsewhere? Maybe they're going to sports, which in a way, sports is the least politically correct of the entertainments because there's no fudging it. You either win or you lose, and it's merit-based. There's no affirmative action or do-overs in sports. Where do real Americans go for their entertainment? Last word to you.
Real Americans are watching real shows on TV. There's two Americas going on here. There's the masses, the 5 million watching Lizard Lick Towing, and then there's these elitist snobs, and the media and journalists and Brian Williams, they're all part of this little tiny group who watches these tiny shows that no one else sees, and they think they represent America or North America, and they don't. They are the aristocratic snobs, and it's time that we grabbed the pitchforks and stormed the castle and got rid of the king, because we are the ones that the entertainment should be for, and we're the ones watching it.
Gavin McInnes, great to see you again. Keep up the fight, my friend. More